Why should homeowners even reference the NKBA or know about the NKBA when they're going through that hiring process?
Well, there's a reason why people say my kitchen's a hot mess.
Right?
Because somebody actually designed that,
Right.
that may have not been an actual kitchen and bath designer.
Right.
So having a trained kitchen and bath designer through NKBA, we have a series of guidelines that are actually very close to codes, but we call them NKBA guidelines for a reason. It's to bring safety is number one.
Right.
So we're trying to bring self-awareness to the community that safety is very important, and functionality, and of course, beautiful, making it beautiful
Right.
too.
Welcome, everyone, to today's podcast episode. You're listening to the Home Design Podcast. My name is Adam Kayce, your host, and we aim to educate, inspire, and connect South Florida with the industry authorities within their trade. What does it take to become a master in kitchen and bath design? And why does it matter to you? From luxury homes to life-changing emergency projects and leading the NKBA here in South Florida, today's guest reveals the true power of design done right, all with Stacy McCarthy, founder of Stacy McCarthy Design and current president of the South Florida chapter of the NKBA. How you doing?
Great, thank you.
Awesome.
Wonderful day.
I'm really excited about this because you are a true master in design and kitchen and bath, and you hold the highest position in the industry here in South Florida. But I want to start off first. Who is Stacy McCarthy?
Oh, that's great. So I have been a designer all my life, really. From the time I could even begin to read, my dad taught me how to read maps before reading books because I was just so fascinated with spatial applications. And even as a kindergartner, at 4 years old, I was drawing floor plans of our own home. And my teacher was complaining to my parents saying she's not following instructions. She was supposed to draw a box and a triangle and a couple of rectangles for a house. Well, I drew a floor plan because that's how my brain thought. And anytime somebody was doodling or drawing pictures of horses and kittens and things like that, I kept drawing floor plans all my life. So even in junior high, I took architectural drafting classes when they had it, and then all 4 years of high school, and then went into college with architectural classes.
That's amazing. And at 4 years old, to be drawing floor plans and understanding the idea of space is beyond impressive.
Oh, well, thank you. It was just nothing I didn't think of any other direction. It was
Right.
just something like that. And to get the kids to play with me, I was so shy.
Right.
I would take the leaves in our front yard and then lay them out as a floor plan, and then kids would come over and play house.
That's funny.
It was a lot of
So they
fun.
bring the dolls, you bring the floor plan, and you put it all together. But through all of your years of experience and education and everything that you've done, you have become a certified master kitchen and bath designer. And I want to dive into that and what it really means to you, but obviously to the industry, and what exactly is it?
So for certified master kitchen and bath designer, you started off with other steps before that.
Right.
First of all, you have to have a certain number of years of education and experience, and documented by your supervisors, your leading designers or architects. For me, I worked for architects. And the third architect I worked for, he wanted to focus on kitchen and bath. So it was really exciting to see that. But one of my vendors happened to say, hey, you're really great at this. I bet you could get your CKD, which is Certified Kitchen Designer. At the time, they had it broken up that way. So he's like, you don't need to study for it. Just take the exam. Oh, that was so wrong. So wrong. You really do need to take take the study courses. So the second time I passed.
Right.
The first time I was like,
it was
a
wake-up call.
It was a huge wake-up call. I was like, this is not what he was even thinking.
Right.
But he was very kind to say that he thinks I could pass that. So the second time I took the next step was the CBD exam. Now those exams at the time were in person. They are not anymore, but they were in person and they were long. They were 9 hours long.
Oh, wow.
So it was hand drafting. You're bringing your hand portable drafting board, and you can bring your own chair and your own lamp or whatever, but you're bringing your own lunch, and you have 9 hours to complete the drafting and the written part of the exam.
Wow.
So you have to make your choice when there's no like stopping, no breaks. So you take time out of your exam to eat, to go to the bathroom, to take a break, to whatever you needed to deal with. That was how it worked. And you're traveling with other friends and colleagues and things like that. So.
That's incredible. And I'm sure like today, obviously this course to become the certified master in kitchen and bath, it's probably completely different. I mean, I'm sure a lot of it is obviously different types of renderings and obviously computer driven type of media in the sense of going through the course.
Yes, it is now. No, at the time I took it, it wasn't. It
Right.
was still, even though I was doing CAD, it was all hand drafted. And I was very fortunate to have taken a lot of hand drafting classes in my earlier years to be able to do that. But for the CMKBD, then there's an additional, so that's 7 hours, 7 years for the CKBD.
Okay.
And then another 10 years of experience after you get your credentials.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So-
And you have to have several other things. You're doing leadership. You are being interviewed by other, whether it's magazines or you're writing articles. So yes, I did all those little check boxes.
So when people go into this, do they, I mean, from the beginning, like say somebody's in their career 20 years already, and they want to do it, like, do they account for all of their past experience, or is it like you have to decide to do it and then it's everything moving forward to make sure that you get all of the, check all the boxes, make sure that you have all of the leadership, innovation, everything that comes with it? Like when does it start for an individual, for everyone that's listening, if they want to become this or get this accreditation?
Yeah, for becoming a CKBD prior to master, if you have 5, 10, 15 years, etc. experience, absolutely. I highly recommend that you take a look at what the credentials are. They change every few
Right.
years, obviously, as we progress, but they do change. So they have some minor changes. I know that it doesn't take 17 years now. It's
Right.
probably closer to 14 years, I think it is now, something like that. But you do need to have the CKBD first
Right.
before you start the clock on getting the masters.
Wow, that's incredible. And when it comes to the masters, I mean, this must be an extremely elite credential within the industry because, I mean, first of all, it's a lot of years of experience. It's dedication to actually get it, to go through the courses, to go through everything that it takes. How many masters are there out there? Are there in the industry, not only locally, but nationally?
Well, I'm so glad you asked that because I just found out recently, about a couple months ago, I actually asked the question, how many of us are out there?
Right.
I was wanting to know. Amazingly, we actually have 3 in our chapter in South Florida alone, but there are 230 around the world.
Oh, wow.
That's it.
That's
there were more, but many have since retired.
Right.
But so seeing that we have a lack of the next generation coming up, it would be great to see more start working towards that direction because it is really important for consumers and for other architects and designers who would like to work with our services.
Absolutely. And the thing is, like, is it something that is truly known in the industry that like the younger people who are coming into the industry, that they know about it and strive for it?
Yes and no. I would say those who do get involved with NKBA are going to hear about it. They're certainly going to hear mostly about the CKBD. Now it's all one exam, everything all in one, and it's online and on demand. And study groups are all online now.
Right.
So you don't have as much of the rigmarole that I had gone through, which is...
It was probably intimidating as well when you're going through that process.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I was the youngest for
Right.
the longest time. I was like the youngest participant in the study group that
Right.
was going through the whole process. And I'm just like looking up to all these amazing professionals. And they're like, come on, let's do this. Let's
Right.
go. We'll room together and when we go take the exam. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, right. That's funny. But that's an incredible experience because you're surrounded by people that you looked up to, that you probably knew of. And then obviously you're doing something alongside them to have the same credential, where you were probably questioning yourself, like, do I belong here because of all these people that are here?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've always felt that it's really important to associate yourself with those who you admire.
Absolutely.
That you feel like they're your mentors, even though they may not know they're your mentors. But just, time is going to pass anyways. I've always felt this way. Time is passing anyways. Why not do little steps here and there where I can?
Right.
I mean, I was raising children and I was a single mom during part of that time. And so, yeah, it's like time is passing anyways. I might as well just keep going.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. And by doing that, I mean, so you got your master within that, but also you're an educator. You're teaching CEU courses and things like that. Like, so obviously you have a passion for not only furthering your expertise, your knowledge base and everything, but also helping others. I want to talk about like how you got into, the CEU side of it, which is the continuing education for anyone that is unsure of what CEUs represents. But where did that start?
Well, it's funny enough is that I actually was so quiet for the longest time and I didn't know what that meant. I was pretty much nonverbal most of my childhood.
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't until my 20s that it was discovered, that's what was called selective mutism. There's a lot of celebrities that have it, actually.
Right.
And it's kind of what they call stage fright.
Right.
But you learn to put this persona on, and it's not a false person. It's a persona of, this is Stacy who speaks.
Right.
This is Stacy who doesn't speak. This is Stacy who puts her head down and draws all that. But when I started admiring all the mentors before me and realizing there wasn't enough going forward, that was, there were some great ones, but they were retiring.
Right.
And then the new ones that were coming up was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible.
Oh, wow.
And, it's my opinion, but it was
Right.
just like I could start hearing feedback from other designers that are going, this is not interesting, or what is happening? Oh, this is just salespeople. They're selling to us.
Right.
And it was becoming a sales pitch versus an educational program. And so I started working with my rep and saying, hey, I would love to see a better program out there. And he's like, why don't you do it? I'm like, I don't want to do it. So I was kind of like put in this position of working for a company. I have always worked for myself for the most part, whether it was from architects, but always as an independent. And I started working in a role considered as an architectural and design director. It wasn't my title. It was a very long title, silly, but basically I was the A&D director for this company. And I was providing design education for designers that one of them was the Beyonce and Jay-Z's designer.
Oh, wow.
And she was so thrilled to say, I did not know that. This is great. I'm going to be able to put this product, this design idea in there. And I was also creating CEUs, writing them up and creating unusual ideas. Like, what would you do with a kitchen that had no upper cabinets, no tall refrigeration?
Oh, wow.
Everything is all lower level because you have 360-degree views and you want to be able to see out. What kind of products can you put in to still have a fully functioning gourmet kitchen? And so I started showing them
Picturing
ideas.
that right now.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you must have been in
So
a beautiful condo.
my goal was to create the imagination exercises.
Right.
And so that's what I was really starting to do. And then that just started to grow from there and started being requested for others. I went back on my own again. And then another company, another friend of mine, colleague, said, you would be perfect for this role at this other company. So I went to that company and did the same thing. And it was just so amazing to be able to see everybody go, aha.
Right.
Because even designers, we get stuck in our own mode. We are creative, but there are times where we have to turn it off or we get tired and we're just, we're humans.
Yeah.
And so my goal was to just get them to start exercising their imagination.
Without a, and that's a great point, because you don't know what you don't know until someone else brings it to you. And in those situations, like I'm sitting here thinking and imagining this beautiful condo, 360 views. And you're right. I mean, you don't want to have obstructions. You want to be able to creatively design a space where somebody walks in and they don't even notice that there's no uppers, that it was all meant to be. Are there other courses that, you know, stand out to you that you've created that really defines unique ideas or things like that?
Yeah, I've written courses on traveling around the country full time and learning about architecture in the United States.
Okay.
And traveling in the tiny lifestyle, the tiny house lifestyle as a designer. So we did that. I traveled the country for 3.5 years.
Wow.
Around, this was from 2018 to 2021. Even during the pandemic,
Right.
we figured out how to do that.
That's
But,
amazing. That's incredible.
our parents thought we were homeless.
I know, right?
But we were like, well, for the first
This is
year,
a
it was
thing.
behind us.
Right.
And then everything else was all either VRBO, Airbnbs,
Yeah.
or hotels or friends who would let us stay, that type of thing.
That's amazing, because, you know, I mean, and for people, when you're looking at CEUs, they're supposed to be brand agnostic. It's not supposed to be promoting a brand. It's supposed to be promoting a concept, an idea, and building the imagination and showing you how to utilize, whether it's certain types of technology or design styles or aesthetics or functionality or whatever it might be. So that's incredible. And you really brought it to that next level.
Yeah, my goal is that even though I was working for these particular brands, not only were we doing non-branded products, we were trying to create a design exercise for them,
Right.
something fun to do, something to engage and be, something that's learning, something that also had some fun to
Right.
it. Like I did one on outdoor kitchens.
Okay.
And obviously the product was very forefront and center of every picture. So I did it in a way that it hit the criteria for the brand, but it also
Right.
hit the criteria for, let's have something that's engaging and participatory,
Absolutely.
and some fun things. Like I had pictures of dogs that had their fur all flying all over the place because this was a wind-blown area for an outdoor kitchen. How do we
Right.
prevent these things? But just fun things. Like I want it to be interesting.
Yeah.
I want them to be learning.
Right.
You know.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to learn when something is not interesting. But when looking at the industry and looking at CEUs, do you feel like enough of the industry takes CEUs or understands the importance?
Some do, some don't. It's
Right.
it's a toss-up. There is a lot of people out there that are really more focused on getting the next sale.
Right.
And I get it. You know what? Money is what talks, and it's really important. But there's got to be more purpose behind it. You will get to a point where you're just like, you know what? I am specifying $80,000 ranges that go in, and I go and visit the client's house.
Right.
And they've got McDonald's sitting on top of it. And
Right.
I'm just like, what was the whole purpose of that? So there's designers and kitchen and bath home centers that are just really more focused on the sale.
Right.
And 100%, that's a great thing. That's what they need. That's their business model, works for them.
Right.
And it fits a level of clientele that works for them as well. They just need something, just give me something, put it in,
Right.
remove, replace, we're good to go.
And when I hear that, advice for the industry and the way that I look at the industry and how business is evolving, people do business with people aside from brands. And they want to learn, they want to be educated in some way. So doesn't matter what showroom, what professional, and this is just my opinion, if they have more knowledge than the next, and whether somebody chooses them to do business with them or not, but if they educate that person, now all of a sudden you're setting the bar for what the industry standard is, and it's up to them to decide who they want to do business with. But if you're educating as an individual, as a company, as a showroom, then you're always going to be ahead of your competition.
Exactly. And then there is a large group of designers, whether they're credentialed or not, they are coming to program events that are CEU accredited.
Right.
Because they do want that. They do want to learn. They do want to stay on the forefront. And that's a very smart thing to do, because we are in a world that is absolutely changing
Right.
so fast. And every time you turn around, there's a new AI prompt that you can use. There's a new AI tool you can use. And it's going to continue to go faster and faster. And we are in a whole nother world with that. and we are learning CEUs, that how we can use AI tools. But as soon as that AI program is put out there, that one is going away. It's like,
right. Absolutely.
but there are definitely a majority of designers that do want to learn, whether they're getting it for their accreditation or just really for learning, and also for the networking aspect of it. I think that's all inclusive and important.
Absolutely.
But I have run into manufacturers who have put out what they thought were CEUs and they weren't accredited.
Right.
And that gets a bit upsetting for the designers, and it's not a good look.
Right.
So I try to really work with manufacturers. I work with a lot of different manufacturers out there just to help them and guide them and advise them on an accredited CEU. And it's a whole process. And it's not something, they don't make it easy to put a CEU out there.
Right.
It's a whole process. You've got to have it reviewed. It has to hit all these certain talking points. But to make it interesting, take the words off that PowerPoint, because you want it to be an engaging aspect. And just, you've got to memorize that you can't be reading off a script.
Right.
You're going to lose your audience right now.
Absolutely, because it has to sound authentic and educational. But I was going to ask, like, because you can't just create a presentation and say, oh, it's an accredited course. Like, there is a big process, and there's a board, there's people that approve it and go through the process. And obviously you who've done it, what it takes. It's probably smart for brands to be able to consult with you, to be able to understand, as far as what it takes to get a course accredited, because it is a huge benefit for every brand and anyone to offer a course that they created that is for the industry, that obviously is educating them on a component of, whatever it might be focused on, but obviously supports their brand efforts.
Absolutely. Being able to have the intuition of knowing how marketing for a brand works, as well as educating for a client at the same time, being able to see both paths is very important. But having a brand just thinking they can put it out there, and then just realizing that they've only done one.
Right.
And there's way more accrediting boards out there that you need to have it wrapped up with too.
Absolutely. And when you talk about accrediting boards, I mean, it's really association based. There's NKBA, there's CEDIA, there's ASID, there's
HSW.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it goes on and on,
yeah.
right? And a lot of presentations are multi-approved. So that way, whether it's an architect, whether it's a designer, different people in the industry, they're able to obviously learn and get their credits as well.
Absolutely. And more designers and architects have multiple accreditations. I have alphabet soup behind my name, of course.
Right.
I've had to stop,
Right.
It was getting out of control. But
That's
yes,
funny.
but I do carry the ones that I find that are the most important to me. Are behind my name. So I have CMKBD, and I'm a certified interior designer based out of California.
Amazing. And also, do you ever see, aside from the designers and architects that might go to these, do you ever see like custom home builders or people like that are coming just primarily for the information? Obviously the networking component is always amazing, but do you ever see people outside of what the CEU might be directed for?
Typically not. It's really been more remodeling. Okay. I see a lot more of that side, but that doesn't mean that there isn't another side. There's a whole nother direction for the custom home builder and the real estate developers. They have their own programs, just like commercial side does too, for food service industry as well too.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Every industry has it. And when talking about that in all these accreditations, so you hold a notable position within the NKBA. You've been a part of the NKBA for a long time. Let's first define what the NKBA is, and just your experience as far as where you started in it when you really started getting involved and where you are today.
Oh, certainly. So National Kitchen and Bath Association is really now international. I don't know if they'll ever change that, but it's still NKBA. It's been around for over 60 years. I think we're at 62, 63, something around there. And it was actually really focused more on just men that were really focused doing this. It was like the woodworking, the kitchen architects, and things like that. And it really has transformed into more gender neutral based businesses, but I definitely would say it's going to be a lot more women in this industry, but because we've tied it more now to interior design,
Right.
especially since now kitchens are more open the last 20, 30 years. They are more great rooms, and we're seeing aspects of not just kitchen design, but also dining rooms, the great rooms, etc.
Absolutely.
So we're going through all of that. But National Kitchen and Bath Association, I was forced into it by my boss. So
Right.
I'll just be honest with that.
You were forced into a lot here,
right?
but it all turned out well.
I really just wanted to do architecture.
Right.
I really started off with institutional buildings. I was doing plumbing plans and HVAC plans for hospitals, prisons, and other, government buildings.
Right.
Then restaurants. And then when I got to the residential, that's when NKBA came into my life. And I started attending some of the chapter meetings, and they were much more basic than they are now. But it was so fascinating. And that's when I was like, oh, this is exactly
Right.
what I want to do. There's a lot of detail and technical aspects to it. And you're learning more about the mechanical plans. So you're doing electrical and plumbing and some framing. So you're learning more than just interior design or decorating. Right. So it's a bit more than that. But,
absolutely. And when you got involved and then you became an individual on the committee, on the board, I want to talk about, today you're the president of the South Florida chapter. I mean, that is impressive. I mean, that's not just your accomplishments, that's your peers acknowledging your accomplishments and seeing that you're fit for this position and the impact that you're capable of making. So you're on your last year of your term. you smile big about that one, but
it's like bittersweet because right. I didn't want to go off the board, but I will right. still be around though. But it's a 2-year commitment. And you can have 4 years max in a row, and then you have to take a year off at least, and which is brilliant. I think that's absolutely necessary because if you do not have new people, new fresh ideas coming in, then the chapter can be stale.
Absolutely.
And having that ability to have new people coming in was exactly what I did. I came in as a new person, very young. It was in 2001 was my first time, and I was VP of Professional Development.
Okay.
Now, that position is not available anymore, but it was a long term, and but it was something that really developed my own career.
Right.
And learning to give back gave me so much more. So I really encourage anybody who is interested in learning more about their career. NKBA is a very inexpensive way to grow your business. It's really should be mandatory in becoming a kitchen and bath designer.
Right.
And being a member, but also volunteering, whether it's a committee for short-term projects, like maybe it's a special event and you're helping with that, but you're learning leadership. And with that, that education of becoming a leader, you're now becoming a leader for your client.
Right.
And that you have to do that. Otherwise, your clients are going to run over you. And it's not to say that your clients don't have a say in their home. They do, but you are the leader in this industry. You need to tell them that this is why we can't do this for health and safety reasons, and this is why it's a better way to go this direction over here. It's part of that leadership training, and you're able to help others. It's not a dog-eat-dog world for it in the sense that you really are community.
Right.
You're no longer going to be, when you're a chapter officer, you're now about community versus competition. And when you help your community, which happens to be your competition, you all win. Right. You all grow. So
I couldn't agree more. And that all comes down to being an authority figure within the industry, because you can't look at competition as far as like holding in all of your secrets. That's not how anyone gets better. It's a matter of educating, raising everybody else, because then they look at you differently and you become a pillar in the industry and respected within the industry, because, and that's the biggest thing that I feel like a lot of industry professionals are so afraid of, as far as like, oh, like I'm going to give everyone my secrets, but it's not. It's like, it's good for everyone to know the best practices and things like that. But more so than anything, it's being able to further your practice by doing that and just becoming more known within the industry as somebody that does have the information, which, associations become familiar with, other professionals, other brands. People start coming to you to get ideas. And that's how you also get ideas from other people. But when looking at, the NKBA, obviously we know what it means to the industry, to the professional. But what does it mean to homeowners? Like people go through this process and they're designing their homes, they're remodeling their kitchens, their bathrooms. As you mentioned, like being a leader, like that's why people hire you. They're hiring you because of your expertise, your experience, like everything that you've gone through. Like if you just do what they say, then they don't really need you. You're just putting all the pieces together. So why should homeowners even reference the NKBA or know about the NKBA when they're going through that hiring process?
Well, there's a reason why people say my kitchen's a hot mess.
Right?
Because somebody actually designed that,
right.
that may have not been an actual kitchen and bath designer.
Right.
So having a trained kitchen and bath designer through NKBA, we have a series of guidelines that are actually very close to codes, but we call them NKBA guidelines for a reason. It's to bring safety is number one.
Right.
So we're trying to bring self-awareness to the community that safety is very important, and functionality, and of course beautiful, making it beautiful
right.
too. So that's also important too. We want it to be a great space where they walk in and go, you know what, I'm not tolerating a thing. Everything is in its right place. And as I'm moving along from cooking here to cooking there, you are no longer just cooking your dinner. Now you're conducting dinner.
Right.
It's way more fun when you work with a kitchen and bath professional. And it doesn't mean just a kitchen and bath designer. I'm talking about all the professions that are involved in it, the industry personnel, partners, the contractors that hold themselves to a higher accountability. And we hold each other as members to a higher accountability too.
Right.
We help each other, but we also guide each other too, utilizing these guidelines that are known internationally.
Right. And part of it is a homeowner knows that they're keeping up with their continuing education, that they're constantly getting all of the updates because products evolve, like ways to install, everything becomes more sophisticated. So always knowing what's new, what's coming to market, how to utilize it, how to use technology. I mean, it's incredible.
We're learning new solutions
right.
to problems that weren't there before. But now in today's world, there's a new problem. So now we have new solutions to those things. So there's products that, there's more commercial products coming into residential side of things, such as
Absolutely.
a cold brew machine. I actually just got interviewed by a magazine about this cold brew machine that is going to be great for families who love cold brew on a regular basis, but it takes forever to make.
Right.
But let's have it automated. So instead of it being 24 hours now, it's like 3 hours.
That's incredible. Yeah. And is that
it's on tap.
I'm actually interested in this because I love cold brew. So is it being manufactured by like a major appliance company, or is it something specific?
It's incorporated into a major appliance company.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll be happy to share.
I'll have to look at it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And is it something that's actually already out?
Yes.
Okay. So what's the brand? Who is it?
Viking.
Viking's making this?
Yes.
That's amazing.
I love Viking.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite products.
It's an incredible product. And, they've been around for a long time, and talking about appliances and everything that goes into kitchens, because, how you said versus cooking a dinner versus conducting dinner, design shouldn't look or feel forced. It should feel like it was just meant to be. And, where it's not like it raises questions as far as why it's like an orchestra. Everything kind of syncs together and it makes sense to your conduction point. Yeah. But segueing into, designing and trends and things like that, appliances is one of those selection points where people probably think that it's like easy. I like this brand. I want this, versus asking the right questions, a professional asking questions. Well, do you love cooking? Like, are you an advanced home chef? Are you more of like an entertainer where somebody else is cooking? Do you like everything ultra modern? Do you like gas, electric, induction? I mean, there's so many different components in addressing that when you get into the design component. Like, what questions are you asking a homeowner or somebody, a builder that you might be the designer for? Where does that conversation start?
For the homeowner, my favorite question to ask is, what do you hate about your kitchen? I get so much more out of that one question than anything else. And then I do have a questionnaire, and they have silly things on them like creature comforts and what's your indoor friends, and you scared the chickens out of me. Those are my funny questions that I ask, but it gets the thought process going in the way that it doesn't sound like you're filling out a form type of thing. But asking them what they don't like honestly, I hate cooking. I really do. But changing the appliance to a product that really is like, it's a tank and it works super well. I mean, it's just so much more fun. Now I really like to cook.
Right.
And it's just changed the way I thought about it. But I found that even if you do love cooking, having the right appliance just really embraces your whole lifestyle and just supports your whole family. It supports your health, your wellness, your nutrition. But if you hate cooking like I do, and I just want a personal chef, changing my appliance made a world of difference. And we're seeing more of these great, amazing appliances that we're designing around them.
Right.
So the appliance now becomes the major focal point because that's what you're using the most.
Absolutely.
Or it's a better sink. If you hate washing dishes, let's get you a better sink. Let's get something that's really fun. Like, oh, this makes sense.
There's incredible products, and we see them all the time. You know, to your point, you know, these we'll reference a range. Like, they are a design focal point. Like what some of these companies are doing with colors, with functionality, with technology, with everything that goes into it. I mean, there's brands out there where you can custom pick any color that you can dream of and have it. I mean, these are, you know, I guess, impact pieces and focal points of kitchens today. And, you know, it's designed around it. But you mentioned the sink. I mean, there's so many incredible products. Like in our last home show, we had this company, and actually they won the KBIS award. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, Top Zero. I mean, they're a small local company, and they beat out like Kohler and all these big brands, but they have this innovative sink where it's illuminated, has all these different functionalities and everything. You control it from your phone. I mean, it's spectacular. And they actually won the award of People's Choice Award in our last home show. But, you know, different things like that, you wouldn't even imagine existed. And it's a matter of also working with a right professional that knows these products exist.
Yes. And they've figured out the most old age question of that grout line around the sink.
Yeah.
Everybody hates, like, you can have the most beautiful kitchen, but if that grout line is just not right, Top Zero did it. They figured it out, and that's why they won. I mean, it was so amazing. And we have them in our chapter. We're very proud of them.
Yeah, they're amazing. Yeah. They're all great people. And also they have their proprietary way of installation where if you want to just change your sink, you don't have to replace the entire countertop. It is a retrofit, easy upgrade that anyone can do.
Yes, because we used to tell people that, you know, you're making a commitment to your countertop with an undermount sink, you better be sure that that's a quality sink, because now it becomes a part of your countertop. And if it fails, your whole countertop has to go away.
Right.
Now it doesn't.
Right.
Yeah, they've really solved some big issues that we've had.
It's amazing. And talking about like all of these other products and things like that, what trends are you seeing in the industry as far as whether it's materials, it could be cabinetry, countertops, like what are you seeing today?
So I actually have been a regional judge for various chapters for the last 15 years and have led for design competitions and led design competitions. Last year, I got to be the national design, one of the judges for the national design competition for NKBA. It was amazing and such an honor to be able to see it. I did not realize that after the first round, that they still had almost 200 for me to go through.
Wow.
And that was just the kitchen side of, you know, the small and large kitchens. The trends that we were really seeing, there was more color, but I would say the majority were still tone on tone.
Okay.
It was white on white or dark on dark, which really surprised me. And these are kitchens from all over the country, some from a little bit outside the area, but majority are from the U.S.
Okay.
And I thought that was a really fascinating experience to see that. But they were utilizing a lot of brushed brass, brushed metals, some dark black metals, things like that too, just to, you know, accentuate those things. But it was fascinating to see a lot of dark but dramatic countertops,
right? Or
a lot of light countertops that were also very dramatic with either light or dark cabinetry.
When you were looking at the countertops, was it mostly natural stones or some synthetic type products?
Majority were going to definitely be the synthetic quartz and quartzite, but there were some natural, of course, too. And I find that natural is fine as long as you understand it. And that's what a kitchen and bath designer can educate you on. Personally, I have in my home is soapstone.
Oh, I love soapstone.
It. Yeah. And everyone's like,
I love the texture of it, and it's extremely durable.
Yeah. With all my teenagers, they were going to be like, oh, it'll never last. I go, you know what? That thing lasted more than my dishes did.
Right.
Every dish was broken, but my countertops lasted. And it was like so soothing to oil it, every month. And I'm like, oh, I love this part of my day.
Yeah. And the thing is, there's products out there such as soapstone that the average person is not familiar with. It's not a product that you see every day, but it's something that I feel like every homeowner should have it in at least their consideration. And there's so many different finishes because, there's obviously high gloss, there's leather, there's matte, there's, soapstone's finish is similar to like a leathered. But, talking about those things and what people should know when going into their design, regardless of the type of stone, what should they know about the finishes?
Exactly. And then also even just the edges too.
Right.
Right now, a big trend right now is to have like a zero flush edge trim.
Okay.
But a lot of countertop people are like, we don't really want to do that because you're going to be calling us back out because there's going to be water damage. It's going to roll down on front of your cabinets. I mean, no matter what, if you have a lot of splashing going on, but having your day-to-day
it's inevitable
function,
with kids.
Yeah. But countertop finishes we really need to know what is your day-to-day function. Do you have a whole family that's using this on a regular basis? Or is this just an entertainment space and you really don't cook in this space? Those are going to determine what types of finishes, what types of edge details, all of those questions. I mean, you may love what you see in a magazine, but it may not be reality or really very realistic for what is going to function best. And it depends on if you're okay with maintenance. Do you have service professionals coming in on a regular basis to take care of that for you? And are they using the right products too?
Right.
So there's a lot of questions that we do ask when it comes to that too.
Absolutely. And it's a matter of finding that balance because people want the aesthetic of what they see. And I'm sure people come to you and it's probably simplified the process in ways where you can tell people, hey, go to Pinterest or Instagram, pull out the pictures that there's elements that you love. So that way there's a visual component versus them just telling you, and which leads to misinterpretation. But what other things are you seeing when it comes to cabinetry? Are you seeing mostly like painted cabinets or more of the natural tones, more natural elements? Like what are you utilizing?
Still a lot of painted cabinets.
Yeah.
I would say that's still a high hit on the majority. And that also has to do with the client's wants too. It may not be the designer's final choice. They're going to still do what the client wants them to do, but they're going to also blend in maybe some wood cabinets in there too. And we're going to see a combination of flush inset along with other styles too. So that's, but flush inset has definitely been a huge trend.
Right.
It is probably the most expensive type of cabinetry, of course, but it's beautiful. And then for those who have smaller kitchens, I recommend that considering doing a frameless style where you're going to get more square inches back into storage too. So it depends on what is really going to be the biggest thing. But I think storage internal components is a big trend right now too, making sure that they are all functioning. I love something called docking drawer where you can open it up and there is an arm behind the drawer that moves back and forth, but it allows you to have outlets inside the drawer.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't realize. Yeah, it makes sense. I have the docking drawer. It's a great element.
Yeah. And then, just also making sure that we're staying on top of trends like, can we put outlets on the side of a cabinet? We cannot now. NEC changed back in 2023, but people don't realize that.
Really? Yeah.
So you're not going to have outlets on the side of your island cabinet now. It's going to be on top, nothing underneath a countertop. And
also like you see those push type of components that have.
That's one product that has solved that issue. Okay. For sure. It may not be for everybody because you're breaking up your beautiful countertop.
Right. But that's how you get functionality for what people are, the same exact functionality is what the side outlet serves. Yeah. Is there any trends that you've seen that have come back that you wish didn't come back?
Just the low hanging island hoods
Right.
I'm just not a big fan of those.
Okay.
I would actually rather do a really high quality downdraft.
Okay.
If we're going to do an island hood. I actually like having cooktops in the island for me personally, because I find that you're cooking and you're engaging with your friends and
Right.
your family as an entertaining space. But there are some amazing hoods that are flush mounted into the ceiling
Absolutely.
that work great. But yeah, those low hanging hoods, it was the whole point
Get
of
rid of
getting
them.
rid of them.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. It
But
opens up
making
the
sure that is, it's not a high flame we're having to deal with. So,
Right,
yeah,
right.
it depends on what we're cooking with.
And especially in today's like open concept feel, you don't want a hood obstructing the view into another area where you remove the walls for a reason. So, why have a hood there?
Yes.
So when going through everything as far as talking trends and talking about the future, what do you think we're evolving into, or what trends do you foresee coming into the kitchen and bath space? We haven't spoken about bath as much. What are the elements that you see coming to market, or things that might not be utilized yet, but you feel like we'll grasp, or just because of people's asks and wants, where are kitchens going?
Oh,
Or
definitely.
as well, and we'll get to the bathrooms.
Definitely for both.
Yeah.
I would say definitely both is smart technology.
Okay.
We really need to be more focused on that. Smart technology is why haven't we gotten there yet? Because
Right.
we had back in 1985, we had Back to the Future, and
Right.
why can't we just like blow up that pizza?
We're still not at that point,
we're not
right,
at that
yeah.
point yet. Yes, but there are a lot of smart products out there
Right.
that are doing really amazing things. But being able to how to incorporate those into the built kitchen or the built bathroom, and smart technology in the bathroom is
Right.
available too. But you also need to make sure you have the backup situation in case something fails, because it is computer and it is electrical. So you're just making sure that there are some ways to handle it if those go out temporarily.
And I feel like, especially talking about appliances, there's so many different smart technologies that have been adapted into them. But also, I feel like there's also some brands that have kind of resisted because they do what they do. They do it very well. They're a super high quality cooking appliance, where I feel like, do you see some brands avoiding technology because they see it as something that will fail? Or do you feel like everyone's...
I see them embracing it gently,
Right.
but still focused on their true heritage.
Right, exactly.
Which is great, because if something were to happen, let's say there was an electrical outlet outage or a blackout, and being able to light your range the old-fashioned way,
Right.
is great. It's
Absolutely.
a great option, but that's really, I see that more like in the mountains or areas that tend to go out of
Right.
power on a regular basis. But yeah, there are some actual technology that doesn't involve electrical things at all. It's just old engineering, but it's technology still.
Right.
And being able to change the way your racks go up, down, turn around, and give you 6 different levels. But all it is you just picking up, moving it around, turning it
Right.
over. That's really a great that's a great technology. If people don't realize that's considered technology. It's engineered to be very smart in
Right.
that sense, but you're using no electrical for
Right.
that.
It's just improving the functionality
Yes.
and the devices that allows those.
The rack looks like a puzzle piece,
Right.
but it's easy to turn. I mean,
That's
all
amazing.
you're doing is you're moving the level,
Right.
but just turning it around.
And that's amazing. And also, when people are thinking about technology, it doesn't necessarily have to be built into an appliance or things like that. Like lighting could be a whole different podcast talking about only lighting. It's fascinating. It changes the way people live in a space, how they experience a space. The technology and automation, it's really meant to live with you and adapt to your lifestyle. I mean, I've seen that there's this incredible product. We work with a lot of home automation and things like that. There's this product called Josh AI. And are you familiar?
Yes.
I mean, it literally learns who you are, what you do, what your needs are, and it lives alongside you. It's like having another person that just, anticipates, and you're able to adapt with it.
It can be so exciting, but I
Yeah.
can understand how some people would be hesitant.
Right.
And I understand, there are some people who just say, I want to live off the grid.
Right.
Great for you.
Right.
But you know what? For the people who do want that technology, that's a fantastic product. It can make your art just really shine and
Absolutely.
be a very big focal point. It can change the way your wall paint looks.
Right.
It's just like in the sense of your house, the way it's oriented to daylight, your paint color is going to change. Well, you can, if you're not oriented the way you want it to be, well, now you can do it with lighting.
Absolutely. And how it evolves throughout the day from when you wake up, and it evolves, and having that natural element spread throughout your home. But I want to touch on briefly as far as bathroom design and what you're seeing in bathroom design, because we're seeing all different types of products. And I feel like these large format porcelain slabs have really changed the way of what people can do in their bathrooms, from the no thresholds, walking into shower. I mean, there's so many different elements, but what are you seeing or putting into your bathroom designs today?
Well, I'm still seeing a lot of people want to go this very traditional feel to it, which is funny because that's not typically my style. But we're seeing a lot more wet bathrooms as well, and not necessarily the single standalone tub, just because it is a bit challenging to clean around
Absolutely.
that. But having that tub being built into the wet room. And just that actually kind of saves some space if they want to have both. So we're seeing a lot of those because people are going back to tubs. I know more people are taking them out than they're not, but
Right.
there are a lot of people who are like, oh, I really miss having that nice deep soak.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's like, it looks great aesthetically. And I mean, I have this big bathtub in my master bath. I don't think we've ever used it. Like, I mean, it's like one of those things that looks great. And if people don't have it, they think they would use it. And a lot of times, so it's also understanding your lifestyle and really maximizing what the design could be to make sure you're putting things in that you would use. But talking about, design or anything like that, as far as what people are asking for, because we're even seeing amazing like micro cements or things like that we're eliminating all grout or seams or anything. Are you seeing that in design as well?
Yes, definitely wanting to eliminate seams. We've actually seen that for quite a few years when Corian was still
Right.
very popular. And a friend of mine actually invented a tool that created a cove.
Oh, wow.
So it was seamless cove. The whole thing was completely seamless. Now we're going back to hard surface materials and being able to have those large pieces in
Right.
there to have that seamless or less seams in there is great. But also making sure that the material is safety resistant, because as soon as you get water on there, you can slip. So
Right.
just making sure that there's products out there that can be a little bit gritty on the bottom.
Right.
So still beautiful and smooth, not going to snag your hose or hosiery or anything like that. But
And that all comes down to the professional, because just because something looks nice doesn't mean that the functionality will be there. And you don't want to wait until it's too late.
correct.
So I want to dive into your true specialty, emergency design. And there's a lot of people out there that they don't even know that this exists, probably, as far as like specialists who work with people who have experienced, a catastrophe, whether it's a fire, a flood, whatever personal things that might come up in people's lives. It can look like a lot of different things. But how did you get into emergency design?
Well, one of the architects I worked for did a lot with disaster restoration. And so I was their senior project manager on a major project. And then as that was closing down, they started moving me into some of these residential projects. And I started noticing this gap between, here we've got the insurance adjuster and here's your money, and now you've got to make decisions. And there's this gap between, okay, what am I doing? Am I we're here now. Do we want to do something different? Or now we've got to make these decisions. The contractor's going, I need your tile selection. I need your plumbing selection. Let's get this going so we can keep moving, because now it's costing time and money to the contractor, and it's also delaying getting the homeowner back into their home.
Right.
And I also had a house fire, and it was a 60% loss. And at that point, then the whole roof was gone. A lot of part of the house was gone. And so we were just like, you know what? We had just barely moved into this house, so we were very fortunate. Nobody was there. We didn't really have everything moved in yet. We'd only been there for a few weeks.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, this is the time to do it. This is the time we're going to add on another master suite. We're going to update the laundry room. We're going to redo the kitchen, make it more family friendly for all of our kids. And we added another bedroom for a loft and everything like that. So it was just a great time to do it. But I was fortunate enough that I knew at that time, and I'm like, you know what? Other people really need to have someone
Right.
who knows how to do this. And I knew where to fight, where not to fight, where what we can include in what we're going to have to pay on our own.
Right.
And so I started picking up these projects through other contractors that said, hey, you need to see my emergency designer, or I've got an emergency designer. I'm going to call her out here. So I started going out for all these like water losses and other things like that. And so it just kind of was like a happenstance. And it didn't become a real thing until about 2018. I decided to take an official sabbatical. For the first time in my career, I actually had burned out.
Right.
And I mean, I've been designing since I was 4. So.
Right. Seriously.
And I just kept thinking, what is my purpose in this? You know, why am I doing design? And people I don't know if they really cared about it or not. And, it was just kind of getting to the point where it was like, here we go. Here's another project.
Right.
Here we go. Here's another project. And it was just focused on money at that point. And I really wanted to have more passion. And my husband said, you've been like this emergency designer. I've been an expert witness on cases for contractors and lawyers who dealt with these issues. I've come in and just been an advisor for projects that other designers were working on, and we're like, hey, we've got this issue and we don't know what to do.
Right.
And it just became this thing. And I started writing about it. And I'm like, you know what? This is going to be the next step.
Right.
I really want to create this program, but not just for those who can afford it. I want to also have a nonprofit arm of it. So that part is in process.
Okay.
Where I can't do it all by myself around the country. I mean, I am traveling. I've got projects in, I've finished one in Seattle. I have them in California, Denver, Ohio. So I'm all over the place.
Right.
But I can't do it by myself. And I would love to encourage other designers to provide a pro bono. I do one pro bono per year. I'd love to encourage designers to do a pro bono service once a year. And then once the insurance kicks in and says, okay, for the rest of it, we need to pay for your designs.
Right.
Then the insurance is covering for that.
Right. No, and that's so important, because when somebody, goes through some type of situation like this, it's not just rebuilding the home. I mean, these people are rebuilding their life, their family. There's stresses in all different areas, the unknown of what to even do, where to go, how do we get through this? So it turns into a psychological component as well. But also when you're going through this, and like you mentioned, talking with contractors, we need to make a selection. We need this, we need that. You're not able to, select products that might not be available, and get, you have to really know what's in the market, what's accessible, what you can do, how to incorporate while still rebuilding, their life, their home design, while allowing that upgrade as well, for them to improve their home and how they're going to live in it.
Yeah, we have to stay at the forefront before a disaster happens.
Right.
So as designers, we are staying on top of that information. And you're right, the homeowner is dealing with something, whether it's a whole house loss from a hurricane, or a tree fell on their home, or they've just had a water leak that was super small at the beginning, and then a week later you're finding out other parts of the home were damaged because the water seeped it, and now it's disrupted your entire family's routine, and everything matters to them at that point. It's just so disrupting and emotionally heartbreaking for them. So it doesn't matter what the size is. Obviously, the bigger size is like, they have other decisions to make, whether they're going to stay or go. But when it comes to a partial loss, that's where it's like, okay, now we're kind of stuck. It's like the difference between a death of a house or a disability of a house.
Right.
And you have to make a decision how to go forward or rebuild.
Right.
And what we're doing is trying to restore the home in a way that supports the family going forward, so that they are not having to deal with all those tolerances later, because they've got a lot of decisions to make. And we've had to learn how to compartmentalize our own emotions, because we can get sucked into those emotional situations, but we're not being cold. We're just saying, okay, this is a terrible situation. We're here to go ahead and make these decisions with you, and we're going to support you. Now, we're not going to have to take time to go, let's say yes to this, this, and this, like this whole laundry list. We're making a whole decision holistically of an overall plan, so that we know, okay, if we have to substitute this material, we're just going to do it. Right. We know that product's going to work, and we're just going to make it happen so we can get that quicker. but also are dealing with homeowners who are having family tragedies. I've actually had several families that have come and said, you know what, I've had a family loss, and now I'm ready for you to help me put our home back together so our family can feel supported again.
Right.
And one of them was that we relocated the kitchen to the child's sunroom where the playroom was, and it overlooked that child's garden. And it supports the whole family. We added touches of blue because they called the child Bluebird, and so we just added those blue tile in there. It wasn't a memorial to them. It was something to honor the entire family.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, and because tragedy looks like a lot of different things, and it's a matter of not erasing the past, but embracing it to be able to move forward. To remember in different ways, and talking about those insurance type of tragedies and things like that. You know how the insurance process works. So not only are you a designer, like you're experienced in, what you can do, how it's going to work, when it's going to come in, and how to navigate those channels as well. Because it's one thing to redesign the home, but it's another way to really understand how the process looks, because that in itself, in every state is different. How quickly somebody can get back on their feet, how they can get, payment from an insurance company, whatever that might look like, and knowing what's covered or what's not. But when going through, the different steps, as far as from like when it first happens to get to completion, are there any like initial steps that somebody should know? Like, okay, I have a problem. Whether it's a flood or a leak or whatever it is, like what do those steps look like that you can suggest to our listeners or people in the industry that they should know to take?
Try your best not to panic.
Right.
Try your best not to panic. And I highly recommend making sure that before this happens, check your insurance policy at least once a year. But once you have this situation, call a public adjuster just to check in, see if it's an option to go with it. Also contact your own insurance adjuster too, but making sure that those are all aligned. But from there, the insurance adjuster is going to, they may or may not have a designer yet. Right now, this is still kind of a new topic for those, and we're trying to get this information out to the public adjusters that we're here to take that to the next step. Same thing with a restoration contractor. If there's and also, the first thing they're going to say, make sure it's dry it as fast as possible. You may not need to go through the whole process. If you have a water leak, get it as dry as possible. You can rent the machines that dry those big old things. You've seen them, the blue things or
Absolutely.
the orange. Get your house as dry as possible, as quick as possible. But fires are worse because you're not only dealing with a fire loss, but then all the water from the fire trucks that
Right,
are
exactly.
going in. So you're getting both. You're getting hit from both. That's what we had, is that we had a fire loss, all the smoke smell that was impermeated into the wood,
Right.
and then all the water too. So could not dry that out. We definitely had to get a restoration company out. Restoration companies are fantastic. There's different types. Majority of restoration companies are dealing with water mold loss, and they are going to test it, but they're going to take your contents and clean it too,
Right.
and store it while you're waiting for it.
And to your point of checking your insurance policy, that in itself is intimidating for people. A lot of people probably never even read it, and they don't even know what's in there. There's a lot of adjusters out there that will actually complimentary just read the policy. So that way, if something were to happen, you can at least get that foundation. It allows you to create a relationship with a company where if something were to happen, you know that they have your back.
Exactly. I mean, this is one of the things that I keep telling people, just even if you did a remodel and you didn't do it because of an emergency situation, talk to your insurance company, talk to your public adjuster. Make sure that your plan is now appropriate for what it is now.
Right.
Because if you've had a loss after you did a remodel and it's based on the prior design, it's going back to the prior design cost.
Right. And that's a thing, because, there's a lot of different components that goes into, if you're taking on a project as a design project, an emergency type project, there's all different elements, but there's a lot of similarities. And it all comes down to, on any level, hiring the right professional. And something that I always love asking people are, what are those questions? You being a designer, being in the industry, in any case, what questions should homeowners know to ask when hiring the right professional?
What is your process? What's the next steps that we do from first we start here, and then what's our next step? I always have a process in place. And as long as we follow that process, everything goes smoothly. If you try to jump over the process, it gets convoluted, and then we can lose trust at those times too. I know that clients get super excited, and please do not try to demo before product is in. Make sure everything is available. And most of my clients will listen to me. I love it when they do, because they waited before they demoed. And if you start demoing, then you're in a demolished area for a much longer time, because product may not show up. A delivery may have only delivered half, and then the rest of it went back on the truck back up to New Jersey, which happened recently to me. And I'm like, come back. But making sure everything is on site and inventoried, inspected. If you have designers have receiving warehouses that inspect it, insure it, and check everything off and confirm everything is in place and it's not damaged. Or if it is damaged, if it arrived damaged, they let you know and they get it taken care of. Don't start anything until everything is in. Please just wait.
No, and because people like you said, they get excited. They want to get the process. Just because you started early doesn't mean it's going to get finished early.
I always say the design process really is the longest part of it. So just hang in there.
Right.
And then if you can wait, then the construction process can go much smoother. And the contractor is even happier, because things are there, they're on time, and they're not having to be delayed and charging their or having to pay extra for their contractor, their subs to come back.
Because how many times do you hear their subs or their team gets to a site to do a certain service and it's not there, or it's not available, and and communication is key throughout the process.
Exactly.
And there's even we work with like home builders and things like that, and in our whole media side where we film these projects, and we work with these builders where they literally from building a custom home where the homeowner's not even there, they're ordering and they're storing product anticipating the installation date as well, which is really smart. And I feel like it's not as common in the industry. People kind of, they anticipate it to be delivered on the day and they're going to, install it, where, being proactive in the design space will not only save money, but obviously cut time.
Yeah. And then there's just so many things that are behind the scenes that we may not share with the homeowner that are going to delay products. So that's why we do build in a cushion too, because you don't know, the truck overturned. There's tariffs right now. There's, you can't, maybe there was times where the Suez Canal was blocked. So, there's things that are beyond our control. But the other thing about a remodel is that you always know, you never know what you're going to get once you open those walls up too.
That's true. That is probably, and that's when the additional costs and things like that can be incurred at that time. So, taking a step back and just looking at your career, your experiences, the projects that you've been on, is there a project, an individual project that's either a favorite or most memorable project that you've worked on?
That's a hard one. I love every single one of my projects. I still get excited. I'm like, yay, we got a new project.
Right.
And so many of them are so different. But I would say probably my most memorable one was the one I mentioned earlier, where the family had lost their daughter.
Right.
She was, it was just so heart-wrenching to see that happen. And they could not remodel their home because she did have some developmental disabilities that prevented her any noise to be in the house.
Right.
So the home never really functioned for them before. And being able to space plan, because ultimately space planning is my dream. That is my ultimate favorite part of the design process. We space planned, repurposed all these different parts of the house, and it just enveloped their home. And I hear from them on a regular basis and how much they love their home and how much it brings great memories to them. It helped them through their healing process, through the grieving process, and restored their entire family. That's
so special because you've changed their life, and allowed them to evolve as a family. For designers and professionals in the industry, is there any one piece of advice that you can suggest to them as far as what they should do to help grow their business?
Stay open-minded. Try to practice ways to exercise your imagination. And there are different tools out there, and I'm happy to share what those are. I take on a business coach or a design coach every so often, every few years. and just to help me grow to that next level. Just because I got settled into one space doesn't mean I can't continue to grow. So just stay open-minded.
Absolutely. And that is key. And obviously join the NKBA.
Yes. And join the NKBA, of course. Yes. Any design association,
Right.
whichever fits your needs best.
Absolutely.
But absolutely, if you're going to be focused on adding kitchen and bath to your design practice, don't leave money on the table. That's a great add-on. And your clients are going to appreciate you for that because you're going to be a holistic designer in that aspect. But join the NKBA. We're happy to educate you on the details and the technical parts of it too.
Absolutely. And it's so important because all associations, you're working with your peers, you're learning, you're advancing your skills, you're getting ideas, but also they position the professionals as more or less elite in the industry in the sense of their knowledge base, and it holds everyone accountable.
Yes.
So we've discussed a lot. We've discussed, your personal experiences, being the president of the NKBA, what the NKBA is, design trends, evolutions, preferred design aesthetics, all the way to disaster design. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you want to leave everyone with?
That you don't have to be like me where you're only designing. I do other things as well. I have activities. So, I love to read. I love travel. I travel a lot. And I used to be an athlete. I was on an Olympic training team.
Oh, amazing.
Gymnastics years ago. But just stay well-rounded. Learn more. And just enjoy. I mean, if it's not fun, you're doing something wrong.
Right.
Obviously, there's times where it's not fun, but you can get through it. But if it's definitely not the direction you want to go, find another direction. This is a great life.
And it doesn't matter what profession, what point of life, that stays true to everybody.
Yes.
Absolutely. And if somebody wants to reach out to you to learn more about, possibly hiring you as a designer or just learning more and as far as industry wise, how can they reach you?
A couple of ways. The easiest way is at Emergency Designer on Instagram, or you can go to theemergencydesigner.com. And there are ways to contact me and also book a 30-minute appointment with me.
Perfect. And then also your design business website
is stacymccarthy.design.
Perfect. Well, as far as everything today, I can't thank you enough as far as being here, giving us all this insight. You educated me. You gave me those aha moments in the sense of like, oh, that makes sense. And, different design elements. But for everybody out there, I thank you for tuning in on this episode. For all of you, we are Florida's premier destination for everything home design and home improvement. Visit the upcoming home design and remodeling shows in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, as well as Palm Beach. You can go to our website at homeshows.com. You can follow us at FL Home Shows. Subscribe to our channel and make sure that you get all of the latest in home design and home improvement. But until next time, stay tuned for the next episode.